The most high performing professionals I know, the ones in the rooms that you want to be in, they all have coaches, they have mentors, they have advisors who are around them consistently. It is not a sign of weakness, it is a strategy. And I'm a big believer in coaches having coaches. In the same way, therapists also need their own therapists.
Welcome to the Your Next Move podcast, the show for high-performing professionals who want to be seen for their brilliance, speak with influence, and accelerate their path to leadership. Let's head into today's episode.
All right, welcome back to episode 124 of the Your Next Move podcast. I'm so glad you're here, as usual. And today we're talking about something that is honestly near and dear to my heart, and something I don't think that I ever really dedicated a full episode to, which is wild when I really think about it. We are talking about coaching. Specifically, the power of one-on-one and group coaching, and why having the right support in your corner is one of the most strategic investments that you can make in your career. So let's start here. I personally have been in some type of coaching relationship almost every single year since 2013. That's over a decade of intentionally seeking people out who could help me grow my business, sharpen my thinking, and honestly get out of my own way. That is one of the biggest reasons why I continuously invest in coaching. And here's what I really want you to understand. I wasn't always struggling. I also wasn't always in crisis, even though sometimes I felt like I was. I was a professional who simply recognized that if I wanted to get to the next level, if I wanted to make my dreams a reality, I needed more than hustle and I needed some guidance. A lot of people think that coaching is for when something is broken, and that honestly could not be farther from the truth. The most high performing professionals I know, the ones in the rooms that you want to be in, they all have coaches, they have mentors, they have advisors who are around them consistently. It is not a sign of weakness, it is a strategy. And I'm a big believer in coaches having coaches. In the same way, therapists also need their own therapists. So let's go back to what coaching can actually do for you. Because even if you're like, yeah, Kim, this sounds good, what will it actually do for me? Why would I be spending my hard earned money in this economy on a coach? And here's what I want to explain. I break it down into three buckets. Bucket one is skill-based roadblocks. Maybe you know what you need to do, but you don't quite understand the steps to make your dream a reality. You need someone who can show you the how, not just the generic how, but your personalized how to go about what you need to do in your specific role, in your specific industry, with your specific business, with your specific goals. There is a skill that you need to acquire. So, for example, I'm currently working with a sales coach. While I would say that my business is successful, sales is something that I am always working on. And that is a skill gap for me. So when was it? Probably in June of last year, I hired a coach to just train me on sales. That is it. That is all we're working on. I knew what I wanted to offer. I knew what I wanted it to look like, but I'm like, how do I go about building these steps to actually build it? And when I tell you, one day I'll probably do a podcast on the behind the scenes business side of my work, but it worked. Okay. I got my investment back and I'm very happy. And I'm still working with the coach too. So, number two, so if we have skill based roadblocks, the next up are mindset challenges. And this one I think is one of the most underestimated. You can have all the strategy in the world. If you're like me, you got a whiteboard, you got a notebook, you got a planner, you got all the things. But if your mindset is not aligned with where you're trying to go, you will self-sabotage yourself every single time. I promise you. Coaching helps you catch the stories you're telling yourself, the ones that are keeping you comfortable instead of propelling you forward. In 2021, I was working with a mindset coach. And when I tell you, well, he was on the podcast actually, James Simpson. When I tell you he was rough, I cried in many a session. But that was the year that I finally left my full-time job and catapulted into being a full-time entrepreneur. And when I tell you I had like 4 or 5 times my revenue numbers from 2021 from what I'd done every year previous in my business, I have never made in the $100,000, so from $100,000 to $200,000 in my business. I went from making, I think like 68, $70,000 a year to making over $270,000 a year in my first year as a full-time entrepreneur. And I left in May of 2021. So it was what I did from January to May, and then I was full-time from May to December. And a lot of that was mindset and having someone who was continuously challenging my thoughts, challenging my approach, coming back to me on what I needed to do to focus on action and not letting my mind self-sabotage me to play smaller. Now, the third type, we have skill-based, we have mindset. The third type is more tactical strategy. And this is someone who can look at your situation and say, here's the move. Here are the options. Here's what I would do and why. Having someone who could see your blind spots and give you real, concrete guidance, that is invaluable. For me, a lot of my coaching relationships are a combination of either the mindset and tactical strategy or skill-based and tactical strategy. And here's an analogy that I keep coming back to that I want to share with you. Therapy is often described as a 100% selfish experience. And I mean that in the best way possible. When you walk into that room or sit down for that call, everything is about you, your thoughts, your patterns, your healing. The hour is dedicated to one person, and that one person is you. Coaching operates pretty much in the same way. Think about how much of your professional life is spent pouring into other people, your team, your stakeholders, your direct reports, your organization. You are constantly in service of someone else's goals, someone else's timeline, and someone else's priorities. Coaching gives you your time. Whether that's 30 minutes, an hour, it is your time, your space to think out loud, to work through the hard stuff, to get clear on what you actually want and how to get there. As senior managers, directors, VPs, executives, many of the folks who are listening to this podcast, you are so used to showing up for every daggone person except for yourself. Coaching is where you get to show up for yourself. So now I want to chat a little bit about group versus one-on-one. Both are really powerful, but they serve different needs. Group coaching, like what I do inside the Visibility Shift, is incredible for community, accountability, learning in real time from the experiences of other professionals who are also doing similar things. There is something special that happens in a room, virtual or in person, with people who get it. It is energizing. It pushes you and reminds you that you are not alone. I believe good group programs have a strong curriculum and a good amount of support. So even though everyone is going through their own individual journey, there's a process that everyone is going through and a promise, essentially a program promise, that is the goal of every single person in that group. Those are the best group coaching experiences that I've personally had. But I also know that group isn't for everyone. Some of you are more private. Some of you have very specific, nuanced situations that need dedicated, individualized attention. Some of you just also work better one-on-one, where the conversation is about your goals, your obstacles, your next move. There's no agenda sharing. There's no waiting your turn. It is just you and your coach fully focused. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's a level of self-awareness that I have a lot of respect for. If you know, no, don't put me in no group now. Keep me in my one-on-one, because that's where I learn best. So now that I've established why coaching matters and what you're doing in a coaching relationship, and I've talked about one-on-one and group, I want to talk about how to get your money's worth, right? Because we know coaching can be very expensive. Myself as a coach, I always tell folks, I am not the most affordable coach out there, but I get my clients great results. I charge because of the results that I get. And I understand for some folks, they're looking at these price tags, they're like, girl, no. But here's one thing: the container, the curriculum, the support, your coach builds that. But the return on investment, that part is on you. So let me give you 5 ways to make sure that you're actually getting what you paid for with any coach. So number 1, and you may think this is so simple, I need you to schedule your calls and use them all. This sounds so obvious, but you would be amazed how many people invest in coaching and let the sessions go unused. Life gets busy, work gets hectic, and suddenly you're 3 months into a coaching container and you have a third of your sessions on the table, if not more. You don't want to do that, because I promise you, a good coach has a good contract, which means they cannot afford to give you unlimited time to use all these sessions. You have a defined assigned time, and you sign that in your contract. So you don't want to be that person who does not use their calls and it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't really get my money's worth. But you knew when you signed up. Make sure you schedule your calls. Use them all. Every time I sign up for a program, the first thing I do, if it's group, I make sure I add all of the calls to my calendar. If it's one-on-one, I generally schedule them out 2 to 3 months ahead of time. And I make sure if I've got to reschedule, I'm rescheduling those calls. But I try to make sure that is my time. I am not going to be in a program and it goes for waste. So number two, I want you to keep a feedback journal. Now, I actually got this tip from one of my coaches, and it changed the way I show up to every single session because I track every piece of feedback that I get. And I let it sit before I respond or I act on it. And this does two things for me. It keeps me from asking the same questions over and over and over again. And it gives me the space to actually integrate what I'm hearing before I move on to the next thing. And so many times when we are in a session where we're getting live feedback, I listen to the recording, take notes. If it's written feedback, I put it in one area. So I'm not searching through a portal or through a course to find the feedback. I have one dedicated space that I call my feedback journal where everything is. Number three, this is a hard one. I'm going to hold your hand when I say this. Let the hard feedback land before you spiral. When you are paying for someone else to give you an inside look at yourself, your blind spots, your patterns, your gaps, you have to give their perspective a real chance before you dismiss it or just go down this doubt rabbit hole. I will say this with love because I see it with my own clients. Sometimes people come to me knowing they need to change. A lot of times people come to me because they know a change needs to happen. I suggest changes and then they want to keep doing what they've already been doing, that they've already proved is not working. And I'm thinking, like, you called me, you paid my invoice, you reached out because you were ready for something different, and then different shows up, and you're like, no, 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 no. So what I'm telling you to do is sit with it. You might be surprised what happens when you stop defending your old story. Number four, I want you to make time to do the work. From the moment you enroll in a coaching program or engagement, I want you to block time, not just your calls, but for the work in between, the reflection, the implementation, the practice, because coaching is not a passive experience. Your coach is responsible for building the container, designing the curriculum, creating support systems, delivering on whatever they sold you, but showing up and actually using everything that's been made available to you, that is your job, and you need time to do that. So time for the calls and time for the work. And last but not least is number five. You need to bring the real version of yourself. This is the one nobody talks about. A lot of people come into coaching showing up polished and prepared, the way they show up in every professional space. And I get it. That's the default. We code switch to make sure that we are, on the straight and narrow. We look good, feel good, look confident, but coaching is not that place. Coaching only works to the depth that you are willing to get honest. Honest about what's not working, honest about what you're afraid of, honest about the gap between where you are and where you are preparing to be. The more real you are with your coach, the more useful the work becomes. You don't have to have it together to show up to a coaching session. That is literally the point, that you have someone there to support you in making your next best move. So I'm going to wrap this up. I hope that you found this helpful if you've been thinking about, is coaching worth it? So whether you're in a group coaching experience, working with someone one-on-one, or just starting to determine what coaching could look like for you, I hope this episode gave you a framework, not just for why it matters, but for how to squeeze every bit of value out of it when you're ready. Because remember, any good coach wants to see you get results. I don't want to see anyone in anything I do not get results. I literally today sent out little pinks to people on the visibility shift who I hadn't heard from, who I want something from, so I can give them like a part of the value that they already signed up for. I'm reminding folks, because I want everyone to have a great experience. Great coaches want you to kill it. You got to show up though. You have to show up. And speaking of being ready, if anything I said today hit you in a way that you're like, ooh, I think I might need to think about coaching, and you feel like I may be the coach for you, I am opening up a limited amount of spots this spring for the first time in a very long time to take on one-on-one clients, and I would love to talk to you. You can go to brownleadership.com yournextmove.com/coaching to learn more about my work and to submit a coaching application. And then we'll hop on a call and chat about everything you would like to chat about. A lot of folks right now are coming to me after the visibility shift to talk specifically about speaking. And I am so excited to do some great coaching around building your talk, building your booking guide, how to craft a pitch, and getting folks really great results and getting really talented individuals on great stages around the world. So if this sounds like you, there's a link in the show notes. And when you see it, you'll know what to do. All right. You deserve to have someone in your corner, whether it is me or another qualified, incredible coach. As always, until next time, may your next move be your very best move.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Your Next Move podcast. If this episode has helped you get clearer on how to get seen as a leader, speak with influence, and step into rooms where you belong, please share it with a colleague or friend who needs to hear it too. And if you're ready to develop a speaker brand that opens doors and attracts the right opportunities, head to KimberlyBeOnline.com/TVS to explore how we can work together. Until next time.